Everyone relax. This is Tofop. I'm Charlie Clausen.
I'm Wil Anderson. Hello and thank you for watching. Are you relaxed, Charlie? It feels like you're not relaxed at all.
No. This is the first episode, or maybe the second episode of the year that we've both been on the road. So I don't have my usual things around me and had some technical snafus. I'm hoping to, every failure, Will, is an opportunity to grow. And I think I'm going to be 7 foot tall.
We should already be 7 foot tall. We should literally be giants of podcasting.
I mean, The Rock came out and did a very kind of cryptic post recently where he was like, it's not the desire to win or be the best that makes you successful. It's the willingness to fail. I guess it was in response to Black Adam.
And the hierarchy of the DC universe not actually being...
Not changing at all. The hierarchy of the DC. Well, no, I mean, I guess it did change.
It's just not in the way that he expected. The hierarchy, I think this is where The Rock has gone wrong. Like, The Rock's taking too much responsibility and he's now buying into... So he fought immediately against the narrative that Black Adam was a failure, right? He was posting the international sales, how well it was going. And it is only a failure in the sense that it's made more money than the movie cost to make. It's just all the extra money they spend on promoting a movie and advertising a movie, and it's not going to, be a successful movie on the bottom line isn't going to be successful. But he made a movie, and a whole bunch of people saw the movie.
On that point about how much they spent on marketing, can I ask, do you reckon that, just say every movie they have a specific marketing budget? They knew that they had The Rock, and The Rock has however many million social media followers. So do you think that allows Warner Brothers to say, well, you know what, we're getting this much free marketing, so we can cut back on what we'd normally be spending on social media ad spend because The Rock will be doing that? Or does The Rock say, you pay me to endorse the film? Or do they have to just spend the same blanket amount regardless?
So here's what I think in reality happens. They spend... It's 2 and 3 is imagine what actually happens, which is they spend as much as they usually spend because you've got to do that so that the star, every time they, drive down the, Sunset Strip, they're seeing a big, poster that has their face on it. So I think you've got to do that for, it's almost like a status symbol, right? It's in the same way as, around the Emmys or whatever, you'll see those for your consideration posters. A lot of the time they don't actually think that person is going to win the Emmy, but it's a deal that they had with the star that they've got to lobby for them, and that gives that star status in Hollywood, the fact that there's somebody saying, for your consideration for an Emmy. So I think that they probably have to spend the same. I think somebody who's as social media savvy as The Rock is not giving that stuff away for free. So I reckon part of his contract would have been how much he was going to do to promote the movie. I think the first one is the more interesting one, which is what should they have done? Did they get any extra? Did one person go and see that movie who saw a poster and didn't see The Rock promoting it? That's the question I'd be asking. There's a part of me.
Hypothetically, is there someone who doesn't even know who The Rock is? They have never
just
seen
like
a
the poster
superhero film. They just like the
billboard. just like things being described as black, and a big fan of the name Adam. Anything that has those two things in it, they'll go and see. So could you get the same value out of just employing The Rock? I think you could with someone as big as The Rock. I think there is no corner of the advertising universe that The Rock couldn't have got to personally, that amount of budget that they've spent on advertising and marketing. If they just said, Rock, you get percentage of, once we make the money back on the film, here's the deal we're doing with you. Any dollar after that, that you get a percentage of that is based on. So there's an incentive in there then for The Rock to, the more people see this movie, the more, obviously The Rock's going to make on the back end of the movie. And then that becomes your marketing budget. The Rock is your entire marketing campaign.
Well, think about, so you'd say that the two most capable Hollywood celebs on social media, two of the most capable, would be Ryan Reynolds and The Rock, right? They're both brilliant at it, prolific at it. Ryan Reynolds even has his own advertising agency or creative agency or something.
Yep.
they both do that Red Notice film, which, like Black Adam, I haven't seen, but from what I understand, like Black Adam is a mediocre movie.
Yeah, it wasn't great. I haven't seen Black Adam, but I would find it hard to believe that Black Adam is worse than Red Notice.
Really?
Do you think the problem is that The Rock's just making movies that have like colors in the title? Maybe that's the problem. Get back to the jungle, man.
I mean, so what's he done? Red, black. Well, if he does like the White Lion, Kimba the White Lion, St Kilda fans will be stoked.
What about
red, white, and black?
I mean, are we imagining The Rock is playing the titular title? Like, is he playing Kimba the White Lion? The Rock is Kimba the White Lion?
No, because Kimba is basically the Lion King. Kimba is the young lion who inherits the African kingdom. So I think he would have to be the Mustafa character, the James Earl Jones.
Is there in the Kimba lore, is there a Mustafa character? Is there is Kimba's dad involved? I can't remember the mythology of Kimba the White Lion.
I don't remember it either. Hang on, I should look it up.
Yeah. I mean, I remember who's the king of animals in Africa? Who's the one who brought the jungle fame? Who believes in doing good and doing right? Kimba the White Lion is his name. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, so for people who aren't 100 years old, Kimba the White Lion was like, I mean, it was like anime. It was early anime for Wil and our vintage. And it was basically the Lion King. It was a cute little fluffy white lion and his animal pals solving adventures. Okay, here's from Wikipedia. Kimba the White Lion, known as in Japan as, all right, I'll give you a clue. It's a 2-word title.
Mm-hmm.
First word is a frequent motif of The Rock.
Oh, a frequent motif of The Rock.
Yeah, The Rock's films. You mentioned
Jungle.
Jungle. Yeah.
Jungle King. Is it Jungle King?
Close. What's more of an Asian, like Asian rulers?
Jungle Lord. Jungle Teacher. Jungle Sensei.
The Jungle Teacher? That's a bit underwhelming. I mean, he's a king. What is an Asian word for king?
The king, you are the ruler.
Okay,
jungle ruler.
If Eminem lost a whole bunch of money and he met with his financial advisor.
Right, I'm loving this already.
His financial advisor.
Emperor. Emperor.
Emperor. How am I doing? Emperor.
So Jungle Emperor. Okay, okay.
It's a Japanese shonen manga. Oh, okay. So it's a manga series, not anime. Will, in a sentence, what's the difference between manga and anime?
What's the difference between anger and anime? You might as well ask me that question, which is what you did ask me, because I don't know. I don't know.
All right. What's the difference between manga and anime?
I don't know either. What is the difference between manga and anime?
All right. Well, it says here that an anime based on the manga was created by Mushi Productions and was broadcast on Fuji Television from 65 to 67. Oh, right. So it was predated even us.
Is the manga the physical copy and the anime the moving copy? Is
the diff between, was it manga and anime?
Yeah.
Manga.
Make sure you've got your kid safe search on your internet.
Jesus, so many tentacles and dicks. Okay. To oversimplify manga versus anime,
please do.
Anime are TV shows or movies, while mangas are comic books or graphic novels. Okay, so that makes sense. So anime is literally the animated version with lots of dick-shaped tentacles. It was the first color animated series created in Japan, began airing in North America in 1966. Did you have a sense watching it as a kid that it was that old? I thought it was like an 80s thing, but maybe I'm just misremembering that.
I mean, I remember watching it in the 80s probably, right? The 80s? Yeah, probably watching it in the 80s, early 90s, I suppose. And, oh no, it would have been early 80s, I guess. I probably would have been watching it, I suppose, because I'm born in 74. I reckon I was probably 6, 7, 8. That seems about like Kimba the White Lion age, I would have thought. So,
but it didn't look old to us.
I thought it was,
even though it would have been.
no, but not like 60s. I would have thought maybe it was from a different decade though, because I knew it was I think you didn't know what part of it to ascribe to being foreign, like, foreign to your frame of reference of how cartoons were meant to look versus this is from another time period. Like because we grew up watching, say there was I don't know, like something that we're more culturally attuned to, like a Hanna-Barbera cartoon or whatever, you might be able to say.
Scooby-Doo.
Right. You can tell this episode's from the 60s and this one's from the 80s. But because you also had that added aspect of that the animation had that Japanese style and it was like, manga that had become anime, then I don't think we had the cultural understanding to be able to date that.
We didn't have a reference point
exactly.
to date it. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, so it's in Africa during the mid-20th century as mankind encroaches, the white lion Punja, or Caesar in the English dubbed version, gives the jungle's wild animals a safe haven. However, he angers nearby villagers by stealing their cattle and their food to feed the jungle carnivores. In the English dubbed version, he merely frees the cattle. A professional hunter named Ham Egg, that's the Japanese name. And then when they translated to English, Ham Egg became Viper Snakely.
What? He's already got a
Snakely.
He's already got a perfectly good English name, Ham Egg.
But the English dub version, Ham Egg is you could say it was an ambiguous character. It doesn't immediately make you think hero or villain, does it? But like Viper Snakely, that's like Decepticon.
Yeah, do you reckon he was the bad guy, Viper Snakely?
Viper Snakely or Ham Egg is called to stop these raids. He avoids directly attacking Punja. Instead, he records the sound of Punja and uses it to trap his pregnant mate, Eliza, and then becomes bait. And this is incredibly dark for a children's cartoon.
I feel like we would probably rounded off a lot of the edges for the Western version.
Yeah, Punja is killed for his hide, but not before asking Eliza to name their child Kimba. Okay. And Eliza is put on a ship destined for the zoo. This is compelling. I don't remember any of this backstory. Okay, Kimba, who weirdly, right? So Kimba is actually the English dub version name. His Japanese name was Leo.
What?
Those things seem back to front.
I'm Leo. This is Ham and Eggs. Like, we are totally Japanese. Couldn't be more Japanese.
It's like two spies trying to infiltrate Japan.
I have the traditional Japanese name.
Ham Egg.
Ham Egg. And Leo. Ham Egg and Leo. We'll never meet two more Japanese men in your life.
So Kimber is born on the ship, and Eliza teaches him his father's ideals.
Okay.
As a huge tropical storm nears, she urges her cub out through the bars of the cage. The storm wrecks the ship, and Kimber starts to drown in the ocean. Okay. The fish help him learn to swim. As he begins to despair, the stars in the sky form the face of his mother, who encourages him, which was completely ripped off in The Lion King, right? That's how
it really was.
Simba
appearing in the stars.
In the stars, yeah.
How did the fish, I mean, again, this is probably not the bit that I should be getting hung up on, but how could the fish possibly teach a lion how to swim? Because fish know how to swim. Like, I could teach you to swim, but I couldn't teach like a bike to swim.
Yeah. No, I don't think you can, but I'd like to see you try. No, move your arms. Stop sinking to the bottom. Move your handlebars through the water. What's going on? Why can't this bike swim? You become like one of those horrible swim coach dads who just starts harassing and mentally torturing your bike.
People see me every weekend going out to the end of the pier and throwing my bike off the end and then shout at it about swim, damn you.
You're humiliating me and you're humiliating your family. Swim, you bastard. Yeah, you're right. I mean, I guess what the fish could maybe do though is their frame of reference is, hey, if you wiggle like this, your tail will get you through the water. So
that won't help a lion though. Like if a lion wiggles his tail, it's not propelling him through the water, surely.
Well, that's probably why Kimba began to despair, I'd imagine, and look to the stars.
He said, these idiots know nothing. Just breathe underwater through your gills behind your ears. Again, I don't have these things.
Guided by butterflies, he makes it to land. Kimba lands.
By the way, fucking love Guided by Butterflies. It's such a good band. Underrated.
Kimba lands far from his ancestral home and is found by and cared for by some people. He learns the advantages of human culture. Oh, here we go. It's a speciesist series about how great humans are and how fucked animals are. Kimba becomes an Uncle Tom against the animal race. Starts eating animals on behalf of humans.
Working for poachers.
Yeah, just spouting like human propaganda. Capitalism's awesome.
Yeah,
like, I've got myself an apartment.
I reckon there is too many rainforests.
He learns the advantages of human culture and decides that when he returns to his wild home, he will bring culture to the jungle.
Human culture to the jungle. That's what we need. We need to colonize and take back our ways that are definitely right. Back to the jungle. God. I'm
starting to understand why he was Kimba the White Lion. You get it now.
Totally.
Holy shit. So he's going to bring, just as culture, but we know, wink, wink. He's given an okay symbol, Kimba under the table.
I mean, it is missionary work, isn't it? He's gone to live in the big city. He's picked up human ways, and then he wants to take them back to the jungle and tell them that they don't know what they're talking about. The people in the big city got the right ideas.
It is amazing. There is a sense of they've disconnected this lion from his culture and said, no, this is the right culture. And they've brainwashed him to a point where he wants to go back to the jungle. And it says here, bring the culture.
Yeah. Preach.
But
it's a missionary
work. Thing.
Yeah.
Because it says, and he wants to stand for peace just like his father did. So they've completely brainwashed.
And just like his Lord and Savior Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Kimba's adventures follow Brian Houston. The show follows Kimba's life as he returns to the wild, still a young cub, and how he learns and grows from year to year. Kimba soon learns that only communication and mutual understanding between animals and humans will bring true peace. Okay. But it still sounds like he's cucked. He's cucked by humans.
Yeah. I mean, because humans could do a lot about the peace between animals and
it's not like the animals are picking fights with us.
Generally, they mind their own business unless we rock up to where they are for nefarious reasons. So,
okay, so we know the comic started in 1950. The animated series was 1966. Was big hit all over Asia. Then went all over Europe, Australia. In North America, it was broadcast in Canada on the Knowledge Channel. This is just where all the places it played. There was a film in 1966. There was a revival in 1989 called The New Adventures of Kimba, and it went from 1989 to 1990. The series bears little resemblance to the original manga in the first TV series. Oh, I don't even want to read the next sentence. I'm just hoping that it's like, Kimba's now like an ice addict. He's just got out of prison. He's trying to get it back on the straight and narrow, but his old crew coming back looking to do one big score.
Kimba does white lines.
Yeah. Breaking Kimba. As the plot is extremely different and the characters are completely reworked. Okay. Several heavily edited episodes were dubbed into English, blah, blah, blah. There was another film in 1997, 2009 film. Okay. Say anything about... Lion King controversy. This is the juicy stuff.
Yep, this is what we're on.
Okay. After the 1994 release of Disney's film The Lion King, it was suggested by some that there were similarities in characters, plot lines, sequences, and events in the story resembling that of Kimba. Fred Ladd, the English language producer, referred to the parallels as stunning, and that's a quote direct from Fred's gob. Similarities in visual sequences have also been noted most comprehensively by animation historian Fred Patton. Bloody, the Freds are getting what a love. Fred Ladd, Fred Patton.
Wrong Fred said Durst. Fred. Yeah, all the Freds. The guys from Right said Fred. They were mad.
Fred Patton, who published an essay on the subject, Patton would later go on to say that allegations that The Lion King was simply an imitation of Kimba is not true, and that many fans who had not seen this show since childhood or at all had exaggerated the similarities. Hang on.
Okay. Yeah. So he's basically saying that, look, there are some similarities, but it's not. You're remembering it wrong.
Right.
That's what he's saying. He's trying to gaslight us and say you're remembering it wrong. It's not the same.
Upon the release of The Lion King in Japan, multiple Japanese cartoonists signed a letter urging the Walt Disney Company to acknowledge all due credit to the Jungle Emperor in the making of The Lion King. 488 Japanese cartoonists and animators signed the petition, which drew protests in Japan, where Tezuka and Kimba are cultural icons. And if there's one thing we know about Disney, is that they bow to pressure. Disney love taking into account everyone's feelings and making sure that everyone's dealt with fairly.
I mean, I don't even know how, is 488 a lot of Japanese cartoonists and animators or not very many? Like, how many total do you think there are? Like, do you feel like that's a really strong representation of the amount there are, or do you feel like that's not?
I don't think, well, for a country which has a lot of like animated, the like animation industry and like comic books, obviously, and things like that, it feels like a low number, but
feels
I guess it's also
feels unders to me.
But if it was the rank, so if it was every, executive producer, creator of an iconic property, then 488 would be all of them, I would suggest.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Addressing the alleged similarities between characters, a Lion King, Roger Allers, said, "Everyone go get fucked. We're Disney. Eat a bag of dicks."
Here's a bag of dicks we've provided for you. Please eat them.
Addressing the alleged similarities, the Lion King director Roger Allers stated, "It's not unusual to have characters like a baboon, a bird, or hyenas in films set in Africa." Okay. That's not what we're saying the similarity is. The fact is they're both about little lions that are inheriting a kingdom. That's the bit that we're like...
this does feel like you're not... This is not the argument where, like, we're saying you can have, like, jungle creatures in a jungle movie. We're saying that both of them are about a tiny little lion that has a parent appear in the air to give them advice. They're the things we'd like you to talk about.
Additionally, the word Simba is simply Swahili for the word lion, which Fred Ladd acknowledges could account for the similarly named protagonist. Yeah, that checks out.
Yeah.
Leo, the protagonist's original name, was initially going to be changed in the English dub to Simba, but an NBC executive, oh boy, again, I don't want to read on because I'm hoping this is going to be brilliant. An NBC executive changed the protagonist's names to Kimba during development. According to Ladd, this was because the executive found Simba too...
Female sounding?
Will?
Female sounding.
Too common.
Oh,
too common.
Simba was too common.
Which could make it difficult to maintain rights over the character's name. So I guess because it is the Swahili word for Simba, maybe it appears in too many products or something already, which that actually makes sense. Tezuka's family and Tezuka Productions have never pursued litigation against the Walt Disney Company for copyright infringement.
Because they know it's good for them.
Yeah, Yoshiro Shimizu, the company's director, stated that many of their employees saw resemblances between the two properties, but any similarities in their plots are based in the facts of nature and therefore two different works. That to me sounds like someone got to him.
Absolutely,
like Mickey Mouse is standing just
got
off
to
camera.
Him. You say, keep reading, keep reading.
It's like Mickey in South Park. Just beating someone over the head with a baseball bat.
Yeah, that seemed a little too... There was some language used in that answer that felt like it had been provided by the company's lawyers.
Yeah, any similarities to the plots are based in the facts of nature and therefore two different works. That does sound like a lawyer's statement. In his book, Makoto Tezuka states that the controversy started in America and people inflated the issue because of their opposition to Disney's business practices. He also states that he refuses to participate in the denunciation of Disney and that he does not want to see his father's works being turned into a weapon for those people. Fucking Antifa and shit, right? You know, those fucking unwashed bloody Antifa types coming, this woke mob coming for Disney.
I mean, Simba and Kimba being the two names, right? That, I mean... The problem, Kimba the White Lion came out well before The Lion King. So when you're making The Lion King and you're like, we're going to call this character Simba and he's a lion and somebody else, like, don't you reckon that's too close to that other thing about the lion who was called Kimba? Do you think that, am I to believe that not once in the process of them developing and writing and putting this movie together that nobody was like, oh, Simba, like Kimba the White Lion? Like, did anyone say that? That's all I want to know is, was that conversation had and dismissed, or did it never come up?
And we're accepting that there's no way that they didn't know that Kimba the White Lion existed. It was a fairly successful niche, but successful.
Well, I guess that's what I'm asking. Can this thing get made to the point where they can't change the character's name without one person going, hey, don't you remember Kimba the White Lion? Particularly when you're making a thing about animated lions, you would think, I don't know, the animators, they look at other animated lions that they've been represented. Like, I just imagine that it would be hard to not come across that.
To see the full video, join our Patreon.
Patreon.com/Tofop.